Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome everyone to Agent Power Huddle, and this is Scripting Fridays. My name's Ed Laine, and I am going to share my screen here so we can dive in. And I'm a bit of a scripting maniac, or fool, some would say. But here's the bottom line. I like to know exactly what to say in every circumstance so that not only can I win the business, but I can help my clients win. And I've been doing this. I'm in my 39th year with over 3,000 sales. And I've been a licensed mortgage originator that whole time as well. So I've done over 5,000 mortgages. So I've seen everything and been in every circumstance. And I always like to, when I finish an interaction with somebody, I triage it and think through, how did I do? What could I do better? In fact, I run a large team here in Seattle, and I coach them. When you pull up to an appointment, turn your car radio off. That way, when you get back into your car, it's silent. You don't start the engine and all of a sudden sports radio starts blaring and you're distracted, and you can do the same thing. You can run through the exchange and the event, figure out what went well, what didn't, and try and improve it, right? So today we're going to talk about a gold mine that you each are sitting on, and that's your database, your sphere of influence, your past clients. That's what is worth dealing with, exploring, and mining that, right? Because your best leads are already in your phone, right? The most valuable prospecting tool you own isn't a platform or a paid lead source. It's your database. And the average agent has 30,000 contacts. You may have less than that. You may have more than that. But that's the average. So think about that, right? A mature real estate database, and a staggering portion of those contacts haven't heard from anyone in months or sometimes years, right? So the opportunity isn't out there. It's in here. It's in your CRM. So we're going to talk through some scripting to help re-engage that audience, right? But first, let's talk about the cost. With a paid lead source, right, you're paying per lead. And if it doesn't convert immediately, you lose track. You stop contacting, right? We used to track this very closely. We would end up 28% of the time with a booked appointment. That means 72% of the people we never met with. Does that mean they're never going to buy or sell? No. That just means that they either met with someone else or now wasn't the right time, right? No never actually means no. It just means it's not right now. So could you go back through that list and start talking and re-engaging? Of course, right? But your existing database is already there. It's free, right? So it doesn't cost you anything to re-engage and talk to those people. You've already spent the money to get them. The only question is whether you're going to use what you bought, right? You have to carve time for this. We work in an industry that is so full of white noise and distractions. How many of you have gotten through a day where you're exhausted, you worked your tail off, and you can't really name what you did, right? That's the reason a lot of realtors fail, because they can't point to successes. And it's really the consistency that allows somebody to survive and thrive in this industry. And they lose that because they can't put a finger on where they spent their time. We teach and preach time blocking. And that's a wonderful way to make sure that you tackle the things that you need to tackle. And you could time block for this activity, which is re-engaging with your sphere, right? So first thing you got to ask yourself is, when's the last time you texted someone in your database who isn't actively buying or selling right now? Right? That's what we all do. We talk to the people that are actively doing stuff, and we ignore or neglect the people that aren't. I used to have a guy that I would talk to regularly, and he always ended the conversation with, I know, Ed, you're never too busy for my referrals. That's a Brian Buffini dialogue that I use. And it works, right? Hey, if you know anyone that would benefit from my services, I'm never too busy for your referrals. It works, right? Because think of it like this. The average person, this is according to Malcolm Gladwell. If you've never read Malcolm Gladwell's books, you should. He says that the average person knows 212 people. So what are the statistical chances that any of my 212 are thinking about buying and selling right now when I call? It's actually pretty low, right? That's too small of a sampling. It's not zero, but it's low. And I got to call through all 212 to find the one or two, right? Some would say, well, the average person now moves every 10 years. So maybe 10% of the 212, so 21 people. But how many do I have to talk to start reaching the 21, if that's the number, right? But think of it like this. If my 212 all know me as a real estate broker and a really good one, they each know 212 people. So I am one referral away from 44,900 people. And what's the statistical probability some of those are thinking about moving? It's enormous by comparison, right? So stay top of mind even with the people that aren't actively buying or selling, because they are your referral source, right? If you had to pause to think about it, when I asked the question, when's the last time? That's the answer, right? You're so focused on the current deals that you let the other folks not hear from you, or you ghost them, right? And that silence is costing you listings, costing you buyers. So what do? We start calling them, right? And why does this happen? Well, a lot of agents don't have a system, right? Without a structured process and follow-up, it's left to memory and good intentions. And neither of those scale, right? I've sold a lot of houses. I'll drive through areas of my region and go, oh yeah, I sold a house over there. I haven't talked to him in years. Or I helped that person buy over here. I haven't talked to them in years. That's shame on me, right? There's no trigger, right? There's no defined event or signal that prompts the outreach, and contacts drift into silence by default. And lastly, there's no follow through, right? Even when agents start strong, inconsistency kills the momentum. One touch isn't a strategy. Your database needs to hear from you through multiple mediums. They need to hear from you by phone, by text, by email, by handwritten letter or personal note, social media, advertising, newsletters. They need to see your name all over the place. And that includes voice-to-voice conversations. Even client appreciation events are a huge benefit in this regard, because it's not the event and the attendees at the event. Sure, that's a benefit and an impact on the people that show up, but it's the 14 contacts leading up to and following the event, because you're talking to everybody, even the ones that didn't go. Right? And you're telling them, oh man, you missed a great event. We ended up raising money for the local food bank, or raising money for whatever. Like, always work a philanthropy into your client appreciation events. So What's the best way to reactivate your database? First, segment your database. Tag them into different buckets: past clients, prospects, leads, sphere of influence, right? Then set up a trigger. Send the first message, and we'll talk about what it should say. And then build a sequence that follows up on that, a cadence. Make an automation or a sequence of events in your CRM that includes sending you a message to make a phone call because it's time, right? If you set up this framework, you can start your day every day knowing which 20 people you're going to call today. It doesn't have to be 200, right? 3 steps: segment, trigger, sequence. This framework is simple by design. Complexity is the enemy of execution. So if your system is too complicated, you won't use it, and neither will your team. Make it simple, right? So what are the buckets? Hot, active buying or selling, in conversation now, in the car now, needs immediate attention. Warm, they've expressed interest in the past 6 to 12 months, likely to transact in the coming year. Cold, no recent activity, haven't responded in over a year, still worth a re-engagement attempt. Dead, unresponsive across multiple attempts, wrong number or email, archive and move on. You can also use A, B, C, and D. A are people that have referred. B are people that would refer if shown how. C are people that we don't know yet because we haven't asked. And D is delete or dead, right? So the first touch, a short, low pressure re-engagement message, no pitch, just a reason to reply. The goal of the first touch is not to sell, it's to start a conversation. A message that feels like a sales pitch will be ignored. A message that feels human will get a response. Like, hey, so-and-so, I was thinking about you. Are you still planning to make a move this year, or has that changed? Keep it under 3 sentences. Make it feel like it came from a person, not a CRM. Personalization beats polish every time. Right? So what's the follow-up? Well, day 1 is the notice, right? The first touch. Day 3, a second touch, different channel if possible. Try a call or a voicemail. So day 1 could be a text. Day 3 could be a voicemail. Day 7, a third touch. Share something of value, a market update, a local stat. What's a current market update right now? Key box openings are up. So even though inventory is exploding and closings are down and pendings are down, key box openings are up. That means buyers are getting off the sidelines, right? That's a good stat to share with somebody who's thinking about selling, but they're nervous of what they're seeing happen in the market. Days on market is extending, right? Day 14, 2 weeks. Final touch in the sequence. If no response, move to a long-term nurture cadence. You don't have to be clever, right? You just need to be consistent. The agent who follows up 4 times wins over the agent who sends one perfect message. Multiple touches, right? Shoot a picture of this screen and build it in your CRM. Automate it. There's technology out there that you can use to make this happen automatically. I have a ManyChat account, so when people engage on social media, it auto responds in a personalized message that sounds like it's from a human. And if they respond to that because there's a call to action, then I take over, right? Bold Trail is the CRM I use. Any CRM that you're using will have tags, right? So you can tag a contact and launch them into a campaign, right? And the system will handle the cadence. You don't have to think of it on your own. No manual reminders, right? These systems do the follow-up and you won't remember to do it yourself. Automation doesn't replace the human touch. It ensures the human touch actually happens, right? So what does a good system look like? Well, you take a dark database with one drip campaign running in the background, no replies, no conversations, no appointments. The database exists, but it isn't producing. To now 5 touches a week per broker. Real conversations happening, real appointments being set. The database is alive and it's generating listings without a single new paid lead. That's how you get your team producing again or get yourself producing again, right? So ask yourself, how many times are you going to touch your database this week? And be specific, right? Write it down, say it out loud, commit to it before you leave today. 5, 10, 20. Doesn't have to be huge, right? I have a Post-it note right here. Look at the top. It says 10 texts. That's my goal for today. That's my goal every day, right? And then track it. How many new leads did you re-engage with and add? How many new contacts did you add to the database? Those are referrals from your current sphere and past clients introducing you to new people, right? And how many of those did you convert to an appointment? So it's new additions, booked appointments, and listing appointments. It can be an appointment to just connect with somebody, or it's an actual person that's thinking about listing their home. Track them separately, right? You don't need a new lead source. You need to talk to the ones you already have. Every listing appointment you need this quarter is already sitting in your database. The contacts are there. The opportunity is there. The only thing missing is the outreach. So start today, pick one bucket, send one message. The database reactivation starts with a single text and it ends with a listing appointment. And don't forget, because I'm a scripting nerd, we have a custom GPT at whatwouldEdsay.com. So if you're ever wondering what I would say in a specific circumstance, you can go to ChatGPT. You have to have an account, but it can be the free account, and go to whatwouldEdsay.com and it'll open it up. And then you can say, I have a friend who's nervous about referring me their coworker. They won't give me her phone number. What should I say? Or I have a seller that wants me to discount and I don't want to. What should I say? Right? Those are the types of things. It covers everything. And I have been teaching this class every Friday for over 2 years. And all I did was upload every slide deck into it. So it covers everything we've ever talked about. And I get text messages from agents all over the country saying, oh my God, I just use WWES. And the first time I got that text, I'm like, what the hell is WWES? They said, what would Ed say, silly? And I went, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. So anyway, use it. Let me know how it works. All right, so we have 10 minutes left. I always try and leave time at the end to answer questions about what I've covered, or open it up to any issue you're having right now and you'd like to know what would Ed say. So does anyone have a question about reactivating your database? And if not, we can wrap up a little early. Hi, Jody. Thank you for coming off mute.
Yeah, good morning. What would be, if you're just getting reactivated with your database, what would be a good starting point for touches? You said you did mail, phone, text.
Yeah. So, have you ever done a client appreciation event?
I haven't.
That's a great reason to call. And it doesn't have to be this huge success. It could be like in April, I do a shred event, but it's a reason to call and say, "Hey, Jody, it's Ed. How have you been? How's life treating you? How are your kids?" Like the phone conversation should always start with reconnecting. How we know each other is through church or work or whatever, right?
Right.
And then you can end it with, "By the way, I'm having this event. It's tax time. If you have any documents that you'd like to shred, we're going to be at this, office address or whatever, wherever you want to have it." And they'll bring those trucks, right? Like Data Destruction is a local company here. They bring a shredding truck and they park it in the parking lot. And what the other thing to do if you are doing a client appreciation event, and I will come back to ways to talk to people that don't include this. But if you do a client appreciation event, you should always have a philanthropy involved. So I'll continue with the shred event as an example. For every pound that we shredded, we donated $1 to the food bank. And we shredded 4,000 pounds of documents. We donated $4,000 worth of food, and we went to Costco. And I filled up a cart, not a shopping cart, but the pallet, right? The big flat one, full of food. And they were ecstatic, right? But it's interesting psychology because a lot of people start the year wanting to do good for philanthropy or charities, and they haven't yet. And then you give them an easy pathway. You mean, so if I come and just bring some stuff to shred, that's going to result in a donation? That fills my cup and makes me feel like I've fulfilled my plan, right? Now, if you're not going to have a charity event, the two most common reasons to contact are you interested to know or curious to know what your home is worth in this market? And the key is this market, right? Because they've looked at their Zestimate, but they also see the headlines and they're wondering, has it changed or what's different? So by saying that, if they're a property owner, they're more likely to say, yeah, actually, I would like to hear about that. Great. When's a good time for me to come by? Oh, you have to meet with me? Well, I just want to see what sort of updates you've done to your home, and I'll bring a tape measure or whatever. So it's an easy thing for them to say yes to, and you can say, I promise to only take 15 minutes. The other more or as popular thing to say is, I have a list of contractors. So if you ever need a referral to a roofer, plumber, electrician, or handyman or anything, let me know because I can give you 3 or 4 of them. So I have a little bit of an advantage, but you could build this. My advantage is I used to be a GC. So my list of contractors are all the subs I used to work with, and I have over 200 of them. So if you were in my sphere and you said, do you know an electrician? I'll actually give you 4 of them. And then I'll tell you which one's my favorite, because most people, there's an audience that want to call 3 or 4 because they want to feel like they shopped. And then there's another one that's just wants to be more efficient. Just tell me which one to call first, right? And I give them both. So that's a good excuse to call through your database. And then any current market changes, pivots, data that you have is a great thing to share. So you're in Spokane, right? So the wildfires, what's been the impact, obviously, on the community, but also on the real estate market? People are probably suffering, right? And my heart goes out to you. But they're going to want to hear about resources. If you've been affected by the fire, here are some resources that could help you. That would be a great reason to call everybody in your database right now. Check on their well-being. Were you affected directly? Here's some resources, right?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Hey,
Yeah.
you had mentioned Zestimate. How do you
Yeah.
address that? Like, people are so caught up on what their AVM is. Like, I don't like to click that on my listings. Do you have this estimate show up on yours?
No, I never even look at it. So
Yeah.
here's the answer to your question, Jody.
Yeah.
If you're the prospect and you said, yeah, I'm thinking about my selling and my Zestimate is blank, I literally start laughing. And I giggle and then I interrupt myself. It's all on purpose. It's scripted, right? But then I go, oh, you're serious? And they look at me like, what do you mean? Because they think the Zestimate means something. It doesn't mean shit, right? And I go, oh, you're serious? Well, that's just a computer telling you what your home is worth, and it hasn't even been to your home. In fact, if you dig deep on the Zillow website and go to their disclosure page, which, by the way, is really hard to find on purpose, it says that the Zestimate is 10% wrong or more over 62% of the time. And then do the math for the prospect right there. Like I'm in Seattle, so our median is $1 million. Well, that's a $200,000 swing. 10% low or high means 100 grand either direction. If your median is 600, then it's a $120,000 swing, 60 grand either direction, right? And all I'm doing is just undermining the credibility of an algorithm. I love that you use the word AVM because you and I both know what that means, right? But the consumer doesn't. And you can sprinkle in terms and then define them. Oh, that means automated valuation method. That's a term in our industry. Now your credibility just went up further, right? It's almost like citing the new law that says you have to get a buyer broker agreement signed here in Washington. Do you know the name of the law? Senate Bill 5191. Write that down and memorize it, because when I start talking about that law, the fact that I cite it by name increases my credibility because the consumer's never heard of it. You didn't even, I mean, you've heard of it, you just couldn't pull it up. But I say it all the time because I segue from, let's say it's a cold lead or an inbound lead. I'm going to spend the first 15 minutes bonding and building rapport and demonstrating character and competence. Those are the two primary goals, right? But then at the end, if you're starting to like me, I'm going to say, like, let me give more context. I do Google LSA ads. So I generate leads all over the state, including Spokane. So I would probably hand it off to you because I'm not going to drive 5 hours to service it, right? But in 15 minutes with a Google lead, I can get enough credibility and trust going that I'll end it with this dialogue. And I'll say, hey, Jody, I don't know if you're aware, but do you remember the NAR settlement that happened a couple of years ago? And a lot of times they go, not really. And I go, well, it was in the news because there was a big class action lawsuit about commissions. And out of that came Senate Bill 5191 here in Washington State. And what that bill says is that I'm not allowed to provide brokerage services without first getting hired. And for you, because you want to sell your home, that actually means signing a listing agreement. And I know that we've just met over the phone. So I can understand why that might be a little awkward or concerning. So what I've done is I've created a cancellation agreement as well to accompany it so that you can fire me at any time. But please don't fire me. This is how I feed my family, right? I'll make a joke out of it. But what I do is listen. If you have any apprehension at all, I'll end that dialogue with, why don't I do this? I'll send it to you as a PDF so you can read through it. And if you have any questions, we'll jump on a call or a Zoom. And if you don't, then I'll send it in an electronic signing invitation. Does that make sense? And they'll go, yeah. And when I first launched my Google LSA campaign, I got 8 leads in the first 24 hours. I signed 7 of those leads within 15 minutes of the first conversation. And the 8th one was the only one out of the other that asked to see the PDF first. So they signed the next day. So I got 8 signed listing agreements. And here's the best part if you want to do this. If I were to call you Jody the realtor in Spokane and say, "Hi, Jody, I'm Ed with EXP. I have a signed listing agreement with your name on it for a seller. Would you be open to splitting the commission 50-50 with me if I hand you this?" It's not just a lead. It's a signed listing agreement, right? Like there's such a bigger benefit. A lead is a name and a phone number and an email, which is valuable, right? If you're good at converting, you can make money out of that. But that's not as good as a booked appointment, right? Well, a signed listing agreement is post the first appointment. So that's the best. So you can negotiate whatever commission you're able to negotiate. But I've been asking for 50% referral fees on that sort of lead for 6 months, and I've gotten it 100% of the time. I've only had 2 people that said, that sounds too rich for me. No problem. I'll call the next person, right? So the Senate Bill 5191 reference is what kind of cements their desire. So I kind of have to do this. No matter who you talk to, you're going to have to do this. But I'm going to give you the cancellation agreement. That's what makes it easier for them to feel comfortable with it. And if you have to, you can put TBD for the price, TBD for the list date, right? I can make the whole thing TBD, but I'm asking you to sign this to protect my license because the law requires it. And I don't want to lose my license over this, right? I don't have to say that, but I do say the law requires it. And then they go, okay. And I'll put TBD because if they sign, the act of signing, even though we can't use that listing agreement, in their mind, they've now committed to me, right? And then whatever your MLS requirements are, our rules say the listing has to go live within 90 days. Well, in August and September, I might be signing listing agreements for January. And we'll put TBD for the price, but not the list date, because my system works best if launched on a Thursday. And I have a whole nother dialogue that I use. In fact, we can cover this next Friday to drive people to the 3rd Thursday of January. And I list multiple homes on that day for people that aren't desperate, don't want to sell during the holidays. They'd rather wait if that's going to benefit them, and it does, right? So we'll do a deep dive on that timing and transition because it's August and we're starting to wonder, should we hurry up and put a listing on or should we wait? And to me, I'll end with this because we've run a little bit long. I apologize. But I always get later in the year questions in like September and October, which are, is December a good time to sell? And we'll do a deep dive on how I answer that next week. But here's the short version. I never want to say yes or no until I know their circumstance, right? And I'll say, well, December is my 3rd highest transaction volume month of the year. So it's not a bad time to sell. What's your situation? And that gives them a chance to breathe a sigh of relief, right? Because they're desperate. They need to sell. I talked to a guy yesterday. He's already moved into his new house and he needs to sell the other one. And so I said to him, we're at a time of year where a week sooner is better than a week later. So is it ready to go live immediately? Then let's do that. And if it's not, no problem. So we'll cover that whole dialogue next week.
Cool. Thanks, Ed. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you as well. And did you connect with Bart?
I did. We're going to meet up at 11.
Oh, awesome. Well,
yeah,
I found
thank you
on the Agent Collective map site. I sent it to him and he's like, I talked to her. We're going to meet. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So thanks for connecting with him.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see you next Friday.
I look forward to it. Have a great day, everybody.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.